Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners coming at you with the House of the Dragon Season 2 finale. Nelson, how you doing?
Pretty good. Jeff, so it's clear, Jeff has not read Fire and Blood. I have. So Jeff doesn't know what's coming. I kind of do, but at this point, like, who the fuck knows with what the show's doing versus what the books have.
I felt that was coming.
I don't think they actually diverge too much more than normal than they have in the past in this episode. But because of that, we normally try to get Jeff's opinion first. So Jeff, what did you think of this episode?
Some parts of it were very fulfilling. Some parts of it were like, what are we doing?
I 100% agree. It's exactly what I was going to say. Some really high highs to some really low lows. And it's one of the things where I feel like the things that I was even high on, I probably won't be high on after a rewatch or two. Like,
interesting.
For example, I'll say it right now. One of the things that I thought was really cool was like the Damon touching the tree vision thing. I like the vision. I don't like how it played into the plot, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go. But like, I thought that was cool. But again, when I go back and slow down that timeline and like the flashbacks, and also like, why is that really going to matter?
It was fast.
Yeah,
which I think was a plot. Like, they didn't want, or a tool. They didn't want you to like know exactly what it was, right? But yeah, you saw obviously what they needed you to see, right? That, you know, why he needed to join back to Rhaenyra's side. Which I'll agree. Like, for once, like, Damon's part of everything I thought was actually pretty cool.
It's cool, but I think, when we get to it, I'll say something and you can tell me if it makes sense or not. But I think there's like a big, like, some things that just don't make it makes this whole plot point might not make any sense. But we can get to that when we get to it. Any other like high points that you want to talk on before we go into the chronological?
I really like Baela. I think she's a boss character. I think she's really cool.
You've been praying for her downfall since episode 2. You're like, Baela's next dead, Baela's next dead, Baela's next dead. I think we've had a few come and go since you've said that, but Baela's still kicking. Here we come, the end of the season.
Yeah, no, and I think she's like a good character. Like, she's got her head on straight. Like, she understands. She's a team player. She understands her role. She is like one of those. She's like the leader in the locker room. Like, she might not be the star player on the team, but she's always doing the right thing. You can always follow her. I still think she's probably going to take a nosedive at some point, but I just got to stick with it now. But I can still like her till that point.
I feel like Jace had some cool scenes this episode too, where he like kind of came at some of the dragon seeds for like not respecting him and stuff. And it's like almost like, dang, I could see if this war plays out correctly for the Blacks and we get a Jason Baela in charge of the realm, things might be in pretty good hands. But who knows if that'll happen? So I will say that one other thing before we jump into the chronological. I really liked the Alan Corlys conversation. I just wish like this happened at episode 2. Like, episode 1, Corlys meets Alan. Episode 2, Alan snaps on Corlys. And like, okay, I felt like we just had a big nothing for most of this season. Yeah. Until this conversation. I feel like it could have happened maybe even episode 1. You know what I mean? Like, why are we taking so long for this?
This is how I feel about the season in general now. I'll just kind of give my season outlook. I feel like it's half of a season. I feel like this is season 2, part A. Yeah. Right? Like, this is the midpoint. And if that was... honestly, you probably could have done the majority of what we saw or what we needed to see, I don't know, in 5 episodes and do... You know, cut out a lot of the weird... Like, we didn't have to do 7 episodes of Damon fighting visions to get to the point of, like, all right, you need to see this vision in the tree type of thing. Maybe a handful of visions, like maybe 1 episode. Yeah. But like...
And the same thing with the Corlys. We didn't need to see 7 episodes of Corlys and Alan having these like short conversations.
These
like,
weird
it could have been done a lot
he's
shorter.
Still weird. He's still weird. Like, Corlys is lame, man. Corlys is bad.
He hasn't done anything. But I 100% agree with you. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of criticism on the season as a whole, like in hindsight, about like nothing really happened. We didn't really move the plot forward. And I feel like there's going to be like a lot of people saying like, oh, well, they only had 8 episodes. Like, if they had these last 2 episodes, they really could have wrapped it up well. And like, okay, I see that. But kind of like what we're saying is you don't need 10 episodes to tell like the story they're trying to tell. You could have definitely cut some stuff out from some of these things that got a little bit repetitive and squeeze the stuff that we didn't get into the end of the season into this episode if you cut some of that other earlier stuff out. Yeah. So
another thing too, because I was thinking about it, because I've seen people complaining about the episodes, which I think is fair, right? There's some cool parts to it, and then like Alicent, we go back. There's no point to Alicent having floated around the lake or whatever she was in. Like, that was pointless. Like, we didn't need to see that. She could have just popped up in this episode and been like, I had some time to clear my head. Like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. And that would have been fine. Like, we didn't need to actually see her floating in the pond type of thing.
I don't even know if we need the scene with her and Rhaenyra. That was one of my least favorite scenes of this episode too. But now we're getting. I
don't think it's realistic to what the vibe of the whole thing is, right? For her to just be in like the Solar, not in chains or like not under like massive guard. But I want to say something else too, because people are complaining about the episodes in part. I think some people like obviously the dragon ship, but then it's like, what are we doing here? I believe the writer's strike was going on during the beginning of production, right?
I think you're right, but I thought I was like excited, like not excited, but like when all that shit was happening, I thought I was seeing articles that were saying like House of the Dragon really isn't impacted that much because most of it's not done in the US.
Yeah.
Like most of it's done in Europe, and the writer's strike was pretty much a US only thing. So I thought I did see headlines that said House of Dragon is impacted way less than all these other shows, but I'm not an expert on that, so I don't know if
that's the only thing I'm like curious about is if like looking back, did the writer's strike, and I don't even know how it would have, right? Like they delayed the premiere, so like it's not like I don't know. Obviously everything was rushed. They were maybe rushed to get it out, so they're like, all right, let's just we'll get to this point and we can do some shit, you know?
Yeah, but I think a general complaint is sometimes characters just in this season just feel completely different, like from what they were in last season or just episode to episode. Like, and we'll get into a little bit more here, but one example is Ulf feels like a really cocky character the first time we meet him, and then in this episode, but I feel like there was 2 or 3 episodes where we saw him in between there, and he was like really timid and almost like afraid to do it, like say anything. He's not
definitely
speaking up.
When they were like, "Hey, we're looking for you, Ulf. Like it's your time." He's like, "I don't want to." Yeah,
even before that, like he's in the bar and there's like food riots, and they're like talking about like, oh, there's food riots, and like there's whispers, and it's not about the dragon stuff, and he's like keeps his head down low. Like I don't know, he just like it seems like a completely different character from episode to episode. So
I'll tell you now, I don't like Ulf. So
I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah, let's get into
all
it.
Right. It's starting with the Lannisters making a treaty with the Triarchy. I don't know why we need to see this like CGI monkey walk through to start it off.
I didn't notice the monkey in particular, but
it looked so fake. Like it looked so bad.
What did you think of this whole like Thailand in either me or
I thought it was another waste. I thought it was a waste. Like I don't care about them mud wrestling, and he got his ass kicked. Like this girl's like talking him up the whole episode. Like I don't know. I didn't care for it at all. Like
it was weird. I felt like they're trying to get like some comedic relief in there, but it just felt like kind of out of place.
Nobody wants comedic relief. Nobody wants comedic relief.
I hated it at first, and then it kind of grew on me as it went on. And like when it would like cut to them, and I kind of knew what to expect. I was like, okay, this isn't gonna be serious. Yeah. But I agree. At first, I didn't. So I think this character is a man in the books, or maybe it's one of those things where they never quite say so that you can make it a woman. This Sharaka Lohar, like the admiral of the Triarchy. I don't hate them making a woman. I think it's kind of cool. I like the whole you have to fight me in order for me to join you. That's the thing that Brienne literally told people when they were trying to like marry her. She's like, I'm not going to marry someone if they can't beat me in a sword fight or something like that. And then she whoops
I was cool with that too. Thailand just looked like he looked like a bitch the whole time.
Yeah, he got body slammed like 5 times and then got one good shot in, and she's like, okay, I'm in. I was
okay,
like, what?
I'm in.
He definitely did not win.
She like gets up, like smiling, like finally you showed up to the fight, and he's like quivering away.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, like you're on. And then the whole thing, like, oh, now I want you to, give your seed to my wife. Like, it was just weird. Like,
weird. I agree.
It was weird. And I thought I thought we were maybe going to get like some Lannister kind of backstory with it, maybe. Just like, I don't even know. Like, this is why the Lannisters are the way they are type of thing. But it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
We got nothing.
So they're like, okay, well, we're in. You have to give us the stepstones, but you have to convince Lohar. And he's like expecting a man, right? I agreed. Like, I think her popping up was cool. And he's like, no, you gotta best me. He's like, in what?
She's like, you're kind of small. Like, he's skinny. Yeah, she like kind of comes.
She was bigger than him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, she was. She was a big woman.
Yeah. Then we get Vhagar and Aemon just burning something. At this point, I didn't have any idea. You probably did.
I didn't know what it was. No.
What is Sharp Point?
Where Bar Emmon, seat of House Bar Emmon, which is like one of the houses sworn to Dragonstone. I don't know. I wouldn't have known exactly where they were, but it looks like they're on the coast. I wouldn't have known if they're an island castle, but it looks like they're right on the coast. But yeah, Sharp Point, this is a Bar Emmon. This is one of the houses sworn to Dragonstone. This guy's probably on Rhaenyra's council. So he's just like pissed off and just killing people.
Did Vhagar just... So we end up hearing, I think, from Larys next scene that, he turned around scared. At least that's what I've been whispered. Did he just turn from Dragonstone? Like, all right, here's Sharp Point. Let me just burn this place real quick. Do you think that was all in the same scene?
I don't know if there was a couple hours between it or pretty quick.
Sure, but like I'm saying, in the retreat,
saying, like, you just did that because you were pissed off, not for any strategic reason. You were just pissed off and took it out on people who couldn't defend themselves. Yeah. So
yeah, that's stupid. I mean, I whatever. Like, it's not my people. I know it's a fictional thing. Like, burn whatever you want. Like, let's get this story rolling. Like I'm ready for the war.
At least he's doing stuff. Yeah.
I don't care for too many side combos. Right? Like, this is almost like. I feel like this is a war show. Like, we should be watching a war, and we haven't. We've watched the battle.
And sometimes I feel like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where Rhaenyra is like 2 episodes ago, she was fine. Like, at the end of last season, like, right, Luke dies, end scene, angry face, we're ready for war. This season starts, she's off grieving, pissed off, comes back, anything to do to stop war. Then she meets with Alicent, basically like, okay, war is inevitable. Okay, we need to do war. She gets the dragon riders, and now we're back to, now that I have the dragon riders, we don't actually have to fight anybody. It can be a no war thing. And it's like, oh my god, how many times are we going to go back to this no war thing, and then like have to convince Rhaenyra that we actually have to do war? And it's kind of the same thing with Damon. It's like Damon was on Team Rhaenyra at like 2 episodes ago, right? The River Lords were like, hey, we're only on Rhaenyra's side. We're not actually on your side. So to me, we don't need this whole dream. I like the dream, but we don't need it at all. Like, right? Like when she says, who are you swearing to?
I still think that was, I think Damon was like, okay, like you're for Rhaenyra, but I'm in charge type of thing. Like I'm doing this for Rhaenyra, I think, quote unquote. I'm giving air quotes to the camera.
Sure. But like, I feel like when the River Lords came and they had that whole meeting in the Godswood, they made it very clear. They're like, we don't like Damon, but we don't really know who to choose. So we're going to default to Viserys or to our old father's ruling of what Viserys said. So here, when Rhaenyra shows up and she's like, who do you kneel to? If Damon would have said, like, I'm in charge, I think the River Lords, literally the entire army would have been, except for that one guy who came.
No, I got you there.
Right? They would have been like, no, hold on. We talked about this last episode.
They were waiting for Damon for sure.
So Damon's like, I'm only kneeling to you because of this whole prophecy thing. It's like, okay, but you had no other choice. Like, if you didn't kneel to her, the River Lords would have been like, hey, we're only here for you, so fuck this guy. Right? Like, who cares if he kneels to you? Which was weird that they didn't just kneel to her when she walked in. I don't know. That whole thing felt weird to me. But again, it feels like 2 steps forward with Rhaenyra not wanting war, then wanting war, blah, blah, blah. And the same thing with Damon. Like, are we on Rhaenyra's side? Then we're 2 steps back. We're back on Damon's side. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, come on.
Yeah, and just like, all right, we're getting 2 days, we're flying. Like, we're all flying out. Like, I'm ready for us to fly. Like, let's go do something. And then it's like, oh, Alicent shows up. Wait, you have to wait a day, and you're actually just going to come, and we'll just give you the throne, which we'll get on that. I'm sure we'll spend some time. All right, we get Aegon in the Maester. He's still fucked up. He just wants a little bit of rum. And then Larys pops in.
Yep. We got to get out of here ASAP.
I like this. I thought this was one of the more realistic things for, like, one, Aemon probably will kill you. Like, if you show that you're, like, gonna try to do something, you're gonna get killed by Aemon.
Yeah. Or is it that Larys just sees the writing on the wall and he knows that King's Landing isn't gonna be, they're not gonna hold it very long after they have they're now completely outnumbered, and he's like, let's just get out of here.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of A, a little bit of column B.
A little bit of A and B for sure.
Yep.
I think everything that Larys brought to him was like, dude, like you're gonna die, and I thought it was, Aegon was like, well, shit, just take me to the throne right now, and when he gets back, I'll imprison him. He probably could have done that, but then again, you have, and Larys brought the great point. Like, then you are 2v, really 1v1 right now because you just have Helena's dragon, who she doesn't even fly, it sounds like.
Yeah, she doesn't want to.
And Vhagar is just going to be chilling, sleeping in the grass, right? Like, he's not going to fight without Aemon.
Yeah.
So I thought that was all good points. And Aegon just going through all of his kind of like injuries and whatnot, just kind of gets to the point of Alicent later on is like, he's broken beyond, but he doesn't seem broken, right? Like, he's maybe physically broken.
He's there in the head, which is what Larys kind of said.
He's there mentally, which which I still hate that he's even here. But
so the one thing I thought about this scene is it felt a little reminiscent to Dany, right? Larry says, "Hey, I basically have been siphoning gold out of Harrenhal and shipping it to Bravos," and Aegon's like, "I don't want to go live in Bravos. That place sucks." And he's like, "Well, it's better to live and come back and take over later." Right, as the victor, like that's what happened to Dany. More as a baby, she was smuggled out. Again, I believe, I believe some other things because of lemon trees and stuff. But the theory is she was taken to Bravos and was kind of fostered there until she was old enough to go city to city. So it's kind
even if she was taken to Dorne, at some point she got to Essos.
Yeah, she's over there and bouncing in Pentos by the time we meet her. So, yep.
So all the nicknames that Aegon could be, I think there's. As much as I can like try to make predictions for what's coming, I feel like this episode gave you a lot of kind of foresight into what's going to happen too, with the visions that Damon sees with Helaena talking to Aemond, and then like the last one I wrote down, Aegon the Realm's Delight. Don't they already call somebody the Realm's Delight?
Rhaenyra, that's what Rhaenyra has been called. Like basically when Viserys named her heir and named her as a cupbearer, she was called the Realm's Delight because she was just like this sweet girl who was always like around court and like didn't really do anything, but was like this cute girl who was always there. Yeah.
So was this Aegon like poking fun at her, or did like
I think that's definitely a crack showing his jealousy. Like he's kind of been this, I don't really want it, but I think now it's showing this like why I want to be loved like Rhaenyra's loved. Everybody hates me and they love her. I want that.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I took from that.
Yep. Okay. You anything else on these two talking?
Nope. Next, we get to one of my. Again, I feel like they're trying to do an intentional Dany parallel with her. They keep cutting to Rhaena running through the Vale.
Yep.
Why she's literally she's like high up in like royalty. How did she?
Why nobody follow her?
She can't just run off like this. That's bullshit. Second off, like what? She's like dying of thirst, dying of freezing, and then just sprinting through the forest. Like it doesn't make sense the way they're cutting this together. She got all of her
energy back.
I didn't like this, and again, I don't like this because that means they're cutting out a character that I think a lot of fans like, and I know why they're doing it. I've heard fan theories of like how Rhaena could potentially replace this other character and make it make sense. I don't like it. I want the other character, but whatever. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I saw pretty much a post being like, nope. I might have been like part of the season leaks or episode 8 spoilers, but like they were like, nope, Rhaena took the guy's name. I think it's like the Netter, right?
Nettles.
I don't know.
Nettle.
So Nettles is out. I don't know anything more about Nettles. Maybe he'll pop up. But
I think Nettles is really cool because Nettles, when they're doing this whole like sowing of the seeds, Nettles is the only one that claims a wild dragon, they say that Sheep Stealer, the one that Rhaena claims here at the end of the season or this episode. That is the wild dragon that Nettles claims in the books. And they say that during this whole, like, let's try and get bastards and stuff to claim these dragons, Sheepstealer killed more people than all the other dragons combined. So, a very dangerous dragon.
So, did people know to go get Sheepstealer?
It seemed like they knew where their lair was. It was a lair on Dragonstone.
But you also said Sheepstealer wasn't on the Vale, right? Sheepstealer was on
Dragonstone. They're all on Dragonstone. Exactly. That seems to be George's post is dragons don't roam like that.
The other thing about the sowing, was it like, all right, you got a chance to go get Vermithor, Silverwing, and Sheepstealer, right? Like, go take your pick.
And Sea Smoke.
Go take your pick and see what you can do type of thing?
Yeah. And I think pretty much everyone went for the castle dragons until they were claimed, and then people started going for Sea Smoke. No one went for the other two, because the other two wild dragons are Grey Ghost and Cannibal, and Grey Ghost they just couldn't find, and Cannibal was just fucking everybody up, so they just knew not to do that. But Sheepstealer, a lot of people went for, a lot of people died, and this girl is pretty much, they say, like, she's a little, Nettles is a girl, a little brown girl, she's like 16 years old, a little brown girl, and again, the Velaryons aren't black in the books, they look like Valyrian, they look like Targaryens.
Right.
So, like, the fact that this little brown girl that looks nothing like a Valyrian can come in and claim a dragon, and the way she claims it is she brings it sheep, like 1 or 2 sheep every morning. We don't know how long.
Just feeds them, and
then kind of like tames it that way and rides it. So this character is interesting because like it kind of shows you that you don't need to be. The implication is, again, who knows? Maybe she does have some Targaryen blood way back when, but it's kind of like the only instance we really have of like just a complete bastard. Or not even bastard, just lowborn,
complete random person family,
super lowborn, just like claiming a dragon, and like by doing it in this like way that you would like kind of claim a wild animal if he wanted to claim a wild animal in real life. So I think that's why it's a kind of a missed opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I think that's one. It's kind of insightful into the whole dragon claiming process.
Yeah, but that's also a weird precedent to throw out there.
Sure,
it's a weird thing to throw out there. Like, oh, okay, anybody hop on, but I do get it. Like, they tamed it not by like force or like blood magic type shit, because
just like slowly winning his trust,
basically.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where the hope was throughout like this whole season. I was like, there seems like they're definitely setting up this Rhaena thing, but maybe this person Nettles had already claimed it and flown it here and was just kind of living here, or maybe all the bones we had seen were this other person leading these sheep to this dragon to try and tame it, and Rhaena just happened to be stumbling on the aftermath. But obviously those seemed a little bit far fetched. So I don't love this, but that's what happens with Rhaena this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could say is that if I don't know, like if this Nettles person had a big story to tell, they would be in it, right? Which, if you have a dragon, you're probably in it. Or, I'm conflicted because there's a dragon now that's probably going to be on Team Black, and that's another one. And now you have Rhaena, who is now a dragon rider. Is she supposed to be a dragon rider? Does she not last as a dragon rider, and that's why it's okay to just like chalk it up? But then does she live in real life, or like real life in the book? Like, is she over in Pentos just doing her thing with the kids, and then this Nettles person? So, like, that's kind of weird to me now. That's kind of up in the air.
That's a lot of the questions of the book fans, too, is Rhaena isn't a hugely important character in the books, but she does, like, have a different ending to her story, or, like, like, I don't even know if she has a different ending to her story than, like, Nettles does, right? So
it's not like they can't
now.
meet.
Yeah, exactly. When both endings seem important. Exactly. So, yeah.
All right. Next scene. So we get Jace coming in on Hugh and Ulf in the, I don't even know what you would call it, the map room, I guess.
Yeah, room with the painted table.
Ulf's not listening. Ulf is a dick. I don't like Ulf at all.
He was kind of funny. I think they're trying to show the whole, like, the power going to your head.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know.
Like, just, like, not grateful at all to, like, just basically, like, I thought this was kind of Jace's biggest fear, was, like, these guys just going to come in and, like, just throw around that they have a dragon now, and they do, right? And
Ulf, and I don't even know if it's intentional, but he's even like making fun of Jace, like, "Oh damn, your hair really is as dark as they say."
Yeah,
like,
no, just straight coming at him. Whether it was a joke, I wasn't taking it as a joke. I was taking it as like, dude, you're a bastard, we're bastards, like we're all.
Well, I mean, it's
bastards.
very clear that Jace is insecure about this after the last episode. I don't know if Ulf knows that, so he's picking at Jace's insecurities, probably unknowingly, right? This is kind of what I'm saying. Yeah. But yeah, Jace gives him a good scolding. He's like, focus the fuck up. Like, we got shit to do.
Yeah, lock in. Like, we're about to go to war, bro. Yeah. And like, Hugh was always cool in the back. Like, I feel like they obviously want you to lean to like Hugh and maybe not Ulf, or like understand that Ulf's kind of a dick.
I feel like Hugh and Ulf are kind of like me and you when we're in public and I get a little too tipsy and I start saying shit that you really shouldn't say. And you're like, yo, Nelson, shut up. Like, shut up, Nelson, shut up. For real, shut up, Nelson.
I could have saved you from some embarrassments if you ever listened to me.
Exactly, and then I get scolded by some little kid. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah, that is it.
Next scene: Rhaenyra and Corlys.
Again, Corlys is just stupid. I don't know.
Corlys is going to tell Rhaenyra about these guys. I'm assuming. Why are we dragging it out? It's like why? Yeah, it's kind of how I see it at this point.
Who at this point right now? Half the realm is a bastard, right? Like, oh, you're a bastard, you're a bastard, you're a bastard. Why is Corlys? Yeah, whatever. I've been on it. Whatever, dude. Talk of the Green Dragons.
I was rereading this part in the books about Alan and Adam. If Corlys is the father, so I think the first one was born. The mother was 16. Okay, so she was impregnated around 15, probably, or early 16. Okay. I think at that time Corlys is 63.
Oh gosh.
So if Corlys is the dad, it's a 15-year-old and a 63-year-old. If Laenor was the dad,
how old is Corlys supposed to be in the show right now?
10 years older than that, 73.
So wait, Adam is 10 years old?
Adam and Alan are like 15 and 16 in the books at this point. So they're way older than they are. So maybe that affects this age thing. But in the books, if Corlys is the father, because again, I've told you before, like there's also talk that Laenor could be the father in the books, which I think makes more sense, especially if you're going down the Dragon Rider thing. But again, I think Laenor just makes more sense in terms of age-wise of the parents, because either way, it's a 15-year-old, but Laenor is probably closer to 30, which is still creepy, but more acceptable in medieval times. Yeah. I don't think 63 and like 15.
I think it'd also be telling though that, or it would be different if Adam and Alan. Hold on, if Adam and Alan were actually Jace's age, right? That's a little bit like Adam. They both look super older than Jace. Like Jace still looks like he looks 17, 18, or at least could pass as that, right?
Yeah, they should be about that age.
Alan looks like he's 42.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Yep, so that's weird. But yeah, they talk about that. Corlys is basically saying, attack now, attack now, attack now. We got to do it while you have the strength. And then he also renamed his boat from the Sea Snake to the Queen Who Never Was. Which is kind of cool.
Just a little nod to Rhaenys. What do you think about, I mean, obviously we get this talk of Helaena using her dragon, or at least being forced to use her dragon. It almost seems like Helaena is more so like a secret agent right now.
Well, her dragon, they seem afraid of her dragon. Rhaenyra says something like it was born during the time of Aegon the Conqueror, which just means it's old. It's like 100 years old.
It's old, probably decently sized. But what I'm saying is like so obviously Aemon tries to like get her like, yo, you need to ride this thing. I think Helaena wants Rhaenyra to win. Like that's the vibe I was getting after the visions.
I was kind of getting the vibe like Helaena already knows exactly what's going to happen the whole way through, so it doesn't. She's like, right. It doesn't matter.
She's mapped it out. Yeah, for sure. I got that too. So it was like, I don't need to get on it. It doesn't matter if I get on it or not. Like, basically you're fucked, Damon.
Yep.
Yeah. Corlys like, yo, strike while the iron's hot, and it's like, okay, cool. Like this is again, they're setting it up. We're gonna get some action at Harrenhal, right? Everyone's meeting up. And now we have to wait 2 years for it. Like, that's just a crime. It's an absolute crime.
I think I said in the last episode that there was like 2 things that they need to do that I thought that they were going to do before the end of the season. And I think at the end of the last episode, I said they were only going to have time for one now.
And they didn't either.
They didn't do either. So it's like, what the fuck?
Wow.
I mean, the montage at the end was definitely setting up a few big events. And I think they were both being set up in that final montage. But it's like, dude, what are we doing? Like, nothing happened again. Like, again, I didn't hate the episode. I feel like I'm being very critical.
I didn't hate the episode. I don't hate it again.
But nothing happened.
I need another episode.
Yeah, you can't end a season like that. That's really bad. Yeah, next scene, Harrenhal. We got Damon. And this was something I was wondering too. Like, how many episodes ago was this guy sent here? And Rhaenyra literally in this episode just buzzes to Harrenhal and buzzes back. Like, why are we sending this guy on a 6-episode round trip just for something Rhaenyra can do in a scene and a half? You know what I mean?
I want to say it was probably episode 5, and after Rook's Rest for sure. But I don't think like the very next episode. So this Sir Alfred cat, he comes in and Damon's like, "Yo, we're ready to march on King's Landing," and Alfred's like, "Yo, I got to talk to you." Do you watch with subtitles?
Yeah.
Did you see somebody yell traitor?
No. I mean, I wasn't noticing. I take a lot of notes, so I didn't notice.
Yeah.
But
so they're walking into the Godswoods, and I don't hear it, but I can read it. It says traitor on the screen.
Oh, there was a time when I heard when Sir Broom like looks around and Damon's like, he's like, "Do you hear that?" And Damon's like, "This place will drive you crazy."
Yeah,
I didn't hear a word. It sounded like wind rustling in leaves.
I didn't hear a word
I watched
either.
With headphones on, and it sounded like just wind rustling in leaves. I thought you were gonna go crazy because of the whole gods speak to the wind.
Well,
thing.
no, I got a whole old gods thing rolling here soon, but it said traitor. I didn't hear traitor at all. But then it just gets into this whole thing of him wanting to be a traitor to Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
and then him looking slimy as fuck even when he bends the knee later on, hiding behind Damon, right? Like at that point you could see he was behind Damon and he was waiting for Damon to not bend the knee, and when he did, he's like, all right, fuck it, I guess I gotta bend the knee. Which, why would you need to? You're on her council, you should be moving up and standing next to her now that she's here, type of thing, right?
And that's the other thing I'm saying. I think he's literally the only person in the entire room who was only backing Damon and not Rhaenyra. Like, I like the concept. It just doesn't make sense. All the River Lords, which is like the thousands of people, should have done whatever Rhaenyra said either way, regardless of what Damon said. But right. And again, it felt like 2 steps forward, I understand the concept, but it felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where Damon felt like he's just finally on Rhaenyra's side. Even when this guy shows up and starts talking to him on behalf of Rhaenyra, I felt like he wasn't clear about it, but he was like, yeah, we're ready to march on King's Landing. I felt like he was saying, like, I'm ready to do it for Rhaenyra, until this guy broaches the idea. And he's like, hey, why don't we not be on Rhaenyra's side? Especially after the last 2 episodes of Damon's, like, the visions with Viserys and all this shit. Like, I don't think we needed the vision. I like the vision this episode. I just don't think we needed it for Damon to be on Rhaenyra's side again. I felt
so
like
this is what there. I think. This is my vision, my taking of where Damon was at when Sir Alfred was like, he was like, I'm coming to march. I'm ready now to march on King's Landing, and I'm going to take control. Rhaenyra's cool. Like, Rhaenyra can do whatever she wants. She can be out there, but, like, this is what I'm about to do. Did you get that vibe? Like, I'm not against Rhaenyra, but I'm for myself.
I think it was meant to be ambiguous, so we're supposed to have these arguments. But the way I took it, especially after the last 2 episodes, was, hey, we're ready. I'm ready to march on King's Landing. Like, I have a plan, but I'm not doing it on my own. I'm doing it in Rhaenyra's name. I was kind of 100% behind that.
See, I don't think it was for Rhaenyra. Like, he's carrying his banner, not... They might be the same banner, but...
I just think that the Riverlords made it painfully clear that if he tried to claim that he was doing it on behalf of himself and not behalf of Rhaenyra, they're not backing
I don't know. I mean, the Riverlords, again, are doing what they're told, right? So, Damon didn't say when he chopped off Willem's head...
They made him do that.
Sure, he did it, but he didn't say, like, okay, now you follow me, not Rhaenyra, right? He goes off and he wanders into a vision. So, they made him do that because they were there to follow Rhaenyra. And then that was it. That's the last we see of them till this episode. So Damon is in charge of this army now, right? Who's there at that point. So they are doing their thing. Just because they didn't bend the knee right away once Rhaenyra walks in the door, I don't think shows that the Riverlords were against Rhaenyra until Damon bent the knee. They're just kind of watching, right? They're just waiting to see kind of what happened.
I think they should have bent the knee right away based on, like, their stance 2 episodes ago or last episode when they're like, hey, Damon, we're here because of the vow we swore to Rhaenyra. We think you're an asshole. Like, he straight up said, like, you're a dickhead, and we're going to make you kill this guy because you were both dickheads together. So we're going to be on your side, but it's only because of Rhaenyra. So I don't know. I get why they didn't bend the knee because it would have killed the tension of that scene. But I think the logic of it is they should have bent the knee as soon as Rhaenyra showed up.
Well, right. If they bent the knee right away, Damon loses, quote unquote, loses the army that he has, right? Because now it's Rhaenyra's army,
which I think would have been cool.
I also think they were, like, half shocked that, like, holy shit, she's actually here. She showed up because nobody expected her, I think, to leave the safety of Dragonstone.
Sure.
Right. So I think that's all like, oh fuck, oh wait, fuck, Damon's here too. Like, oh shit, what should we do? Type of thing.
Sure. I just think they tried to build up this, like, oh, what's Damon gonna do tension when it could have been just as cool with the whole prophecy if Rhaenyra would have walked in, all the Riverlords would have bent the knee, Damon would have come up and just been like and it maybe would have felt too similar as to Damon coming to Viserys after the whole Stepstones thing in season 1. But it should have been pretty much that, where he's like, hey, I'm 100% behind you.
No, I disagree, because then Damon loses any power. If he doesn't have the Riverlord army, at least at his back, which looks like then he has no power other than his dragon, which he's outnumbered then.
He doesn't have any power, though. Like,
yes, but I get it. That's not the book story that you're looking for, but that's obviously the story that they've tried to play this season, is that he wants to be in power. Yeah. So, all right. Aemon and the Rule Maker. I don't remember his name. I don't even know if that's his title for the council. Iron Rod,
Master of Laws.
Master of Law. They're walking through. He's like, all right, search every ship basically now, right? No more
boats in or out. Yeah.
No more boats at all. Or I thought they were just gonna, like.
I think that's what he said. No more boats in or out. Period.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whatever. I don't care.
Didn't really matter. Helaena and Alicent.
Alicent's like, yo, let's bail.
Yeah, let's leave here. And then
Aemon crashes the party.
Aemon shows up. He's like, we need the dragon. He tries to take Helaena by force. She doesn't want to. And then Alicent kind of has the mom moment with Aemon.
Yeah.
Which I think was a good scene. Like, she basically said, you're being a dick. This is just because you're butthurt, not angry. Because you're trying to be a good ruler. Like, you're literally just fucking over small folk because you're pissed off. Like, think about what you're doing.
And I think at one point leading up to this, maybe like when Viserys died and they were searching for Aegon, you could kind of look at Aemon and be like, all right, he's kind of got, he can be a fighter. He's got a big dragon. He could possibly be the right a good ruler, right? He's kind of strong in that way, and this is just showing that he is, say the Targaryen flip the coin. He's the angry one, right? He's quick to anger type of thing.
I feel like it's an episode to episode thing. Sometimes he seems like very calm, cool, collected, nothing gets him pissed off, and then some episodes everything pisses him off. So again, I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's an aspect of having different directors each episode or what, but
it's probably part of it. I also think this is the first time that he is threatened at all, right? He went from having the biggest dragon that really maybe no one could fuck with to now he's gonna have to go 6v1 on a possibly 7v1 on Dragonback.
That's fair. This he does seem way more rattled this episode than ever before. He's always been a little bit of a loose cannon, but he's always seemed to kind of have a plan. And here he does seem like he's flying by the seat of his pants. And it's kind of like that Mike Tyson quote: "Everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth." And he didn't quite get punched in the mouth yet, but he sees it coming. So
he's preparing to get hit. So then we get another quick one with the Maester and Alicent needs passage. And I kind of thought this was like Alicent, like, I actually want to bail, like, take me to bail. What were you thinking at this point? Did you think it was to go see Rhaenyra?
I mean, I know what happens in the book, so, like, either I was thinking, I'll tell you, I was thinking one of two things. I was either like, oh, so this is how that happened, or I was thinking, wonder what goes wrong with this to make this not happen.
Okay.
I will say later on, when Alicent shows up and is talking to Rhaenyra, she's like, hey, Rhaenyra, just let me and Helaena escape. And I'm thinking, Alicent, you somehow snuck out of the castle and got here. Like, you don't need to ask her. Just take Helaena with you next time and never come back. Like, what are we talking about here?
I think she wants to escape, but still live in Westeros, right? Like, I want to escape the Red Keep and go live in Old Town. Like, let me just go back to Old Town and don't come looking for my head later on, is what she was trying to say.
I mean, I get that, but you see where I'm coming from. Where I'm like, what are we talking about?
You could have escaped. You already escaped.
You just escaped. You escaped.
You could have kept going. You could have kept going.
I'm like, what are we talking about?
All right, we get Kristen with the handkerchief.
Again, I think some of this was really weird, and some of this was really awesome.
I didn't mind it. Did Gwaine just know that he was sleeping with his sister because he had the hanky?
Well, I mean, Alicent was giving him eyes hardcore the whole conversation she was talking to Gwaine last time. If maybe that's
but why just call him out on it now when he was looking at the hanky? Like,
I don't know why you called out in front of everybody, because like
there had to be 100 witnesses that saw the hanky get pulled out of her dress and handed.
I mean, how many people are going to see that the hanky says A on it, and if they do, are they going to really tie that to Alicent? Who knows? He accuses him in front of the entire army. Like, okay, now the entire army knows Kristen's fucking your sister. Like, you didn't want to do that in private. Like,
and it looked like the whole army was watching, right? The army was like, oh shit, what's about to go on?
And at the end of the day, it's like, who cares? Like, Gwaine seemed to not care by the end of it, but now the entire army knows that Kristen's fucking Alicent. Like, I don't know. Is that going to come back, or is everyone just going to forget that? That seemed really weird where that was. I liked kind of the premise of what Kristen said towards the end. I thought the way... I feel like they wanted to get Kristen into one of these Kingsguard speeches where it's like, everyone breaks their vows, no one's perfect. Like, Ares Oakheart, I mean, we're about to have... I think you'll see a lot of parallels to Kristen Cole, and they even called out in one of the early Feast of Crows chapters with Ares Oakheart sleeping with Arianne Martell.
Okay.
And one of the things they go through there is they just go through a list of Kingsguard who were thought of as great Kingsguard, but all had mistresses. So it's like, you don't need to uphold all the vows to really have honor and stuff. So I like some of these threads. I felt like they were definite, like Ryan Condal is pulling these from book themes, but the scene just felt weird, like the way it was broached and everything.
It was definitely weird, but again, you need to see... You couldn't go the whole season 8 or season 2 finale without seeing Kristen, right? Like, we're just going to chalk it up. Again, because we didn't actually get to the fight that I'm sure is looming early in season 3. But I liked his line, all men are corrupt and true honor is a mist that melts away in the morning. It just kind of brings on the theme that you're always talking about, like what is the true honor? Like the whole Jaime conundrum.
Well, didn't Alicent hit him with this? I think Alicent hit him with this. The episode after they come back from Rook's Rest, and she's like needs backup in the council, and he's like doesn't, and he's about to ride out again, and she's like, "What is your loyalty to me just some dew that fades away in the morning?" Like she basically hit him with the same thing. Like, your loyalty to me is a dew that fades away when the morning sun.
It's like your loyalty's here at nighttime, but not when the morning. I don't think she uses dew or anything like that. But
okay.
I think it's
I
just
thought
like,
it was similar.
I think just that it fades away once the sun's up type of thing. But that's neither here nor there. True. I also think Kristen is just like, fuck it. We're all dead. Like we're all, if even the dragon riders are pieces to the bigger game of the puzzle board, like we are the most minute little pieces. Like we're about to just get torched. Like no matter what we do, like you'd be lucky to not get torched by a dragon the way this is heading. So like fuck it, do whatever you want. Like you got a little bit of a temptation. Maybe you lean into that temptation because we're all about to get burned anyway.
Yeah, and it felt a little bit Davos Stannis, where doesn't Davos at one point say to his son, like, Stannis is my god. He saved me from everything. Like, we'd be nothing without him. He says to Gwen, like, I was ready to die twice. Like, one time straight up because I was breaking rules, and once I was just going to kill myself. And both times she saved me. So I owe her everything at this point. Which, again, I don't think this is going to win Kristen any fans, but I don't think I think people are going to understand where he's coming from a little bit here.
Kristen is Kristen. Like, do whatever you got to do, bro. Like,
yeah.
I'm not putting any coins back into you. That ship has sailed. We moving on to the mud wrestling scene.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of already talked about. We pretty much talked about all the Lannister stuff. Again, mud wrestling scene kind of weird.
He just got his ass kicked. Like I don't know why they would have followed him for that.
Yeah, we talked about that. There is the weird joke at the end about like we eat our enemies. That kind of did not land for me. I don't know.
It didn't land funny for me either. I was like this. Like the girl. She was written that way. I didn't find her character very good. Like I'm not like excited to see more of her in the future.
Yeah, I will say I don't know where exactly they were. The Tyrosh is one of the three cities, Myr, Lys, and Tyrosh. The Triarchy is one of those three. I think they might have said Myr, but I'm not 100% sure. That admiral is supposed to be from Lys, so maybe it's Lys. But I did like how it seemed different. Like they're eating on the floor, right? Like what is that Indian style where they're like sitting and like the whole like their feet are in the whole things in the ground. I thought that was cool. And there was one part they first cut there. I was taking notes and I cut up and one of the guys is talking and I was like being snobby and I'm like, they should have blue hair. And then it cut to the next guy. And one guy did have all blue hair. I'm like, okay. I was kind of digging some of that stuff and they were dressed like kind of
definitely looked different.
Colorfully.
Gave you a different vibe. They did it. I think they filmed it probably in a different camera lens, right? Like it was brighter, kind of looked deserty in a way.
Yeah. Way sunnier.
Yeah. So then one of my favorite scenes in like a weird kind of way was Jace and Baela. And just because I think Baela is coming strong. Like, bro, one, I love that she called him out on pouting. I think that's kind of like the writers and director like making fun of Jace always walking around with this pouty, broody looking face.
But were they talking? Was that a thing people talked about last season? Because they wouldn't have had time to write that
for sure. Whenever this version of Jace was introduced, he definitely was always puckering.
I think pretty much. I don't think that was at all till this season because I think all that really happened last season was Rhaenyra was like, "Hey, fly north," and then he flew north and we didn't see him. We saw Luke go to Storm's End.
Yeah, but he was still there. I mean, he was still like, "Okay, Mom, send us. I'll fly north." With his pouty face. He at least had 2 episodes.
I've definitely seen memes about that since you mentioned it to me.
Because they were at the dinner, right? You get him at the dinner with the pig.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you get them deciding to fly north. So I'm saying he at least was in 3 episodes.
Okay, that's fair.
But I was just like, damn, like they literally just called him out for having that stupid ass pouty face on.
I did feel like it was a little weird because when he's around most people, he's kind of a hardo, and then he's like all pouting by himself. But again, I see where he's coming from. It's like it does feel inaccurate to the books because Jace is like behind all this. Right. Like it even says he's like part of the plan. Corlys brought Adam to Jace to try this out, like not to Rhaenyra. Like he's like, try this guy for one of the seas. Like Jace is literally the mastermind behind this, but I don't hate it because it makes sense. Like it makes sense why Jace is worried about this. For like,
it does make sense for sure, especially because he's so much younger than Ulf and Hugh. And like if I wouldn't be that scared of Ulf, but like Hugh looks like a dominant force.
Yeah,
and he's got Vermithor, which is way bigger than everybody else. But yeah, I think again, Baela. I said it. I thought she's dope as shit. Like hyping him up, like dude, like. I think it's a little bit weird that they're all just so accepting of him being a bastard. Maybe like they're just like, oh, who cares, Jace? Like whatever. Like it just seems like it's so far away from like Jon Snow type of thing.
Yes, like sometimes I feel like we do get a little bit of like modern views. Like like we don't care about bastards nowadays, but yeah, people would care about this. Like in the books, it's a big deal, and like in the books, it's way less confirmed than it is in the show, and still it's a big deal all the time. Here, pretty much every time it's brought up, everyone's just like, don't worry about it. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, bastards
like
don't
to
matter.
that point, like Jon Snow should have just chilled in Winterfell, and they would have been like, no, it's okay. Like they're all dead. Like, bro, it's yours now. You're
exactly,
up.
exactly. So,
which again, I don't care, but it's weird that Bela's kind of like, yeah, no, it's cool, bro. Like, you're a bastard. Like, so what? Like, that guy probably was a bastard too. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, you're not the first, you won't be the last, pretty much. And it's like, that's true.
I think they have to have that conversation because of what you just said too, of like how they wrote it, that Jace was like, come on, bastards, like, come fly our dragons, and now it's like, oh, why are they flying our dragons? Like, they're not allowed to. So.
I mean, but you could see in the books, like, again, in the books it's written by a maester, so you don't really see Jason's intentions, but you could see Jason's intentions, like, if he knew he was a bastard, he, like, maybe he doesn't care about the throne, and he's like, what makes me better than anybody else who is a bastard? Why not give them a chance? You know what I mean? Like, he could be really open about it and not give a fuck, and maybe that's why in the books he's the one with the ideas. Like, hey, if everyone thinks I'm a bastard, maybe other bastards would work too, right? It worked for me.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I mean, there's been 18 episodes now. About 14 of them have been centered around, is Jace a bastard or not, and can we are we comfortable enough saying yes, you are, right?
Yeah. So next one, Tyland is at dinner in Mirror or Lice or wherever, and he sings a song.
Care for this one either.
It was kind of weird. She's like, "Yeah, I want you to have my kids with my wives." Like, weird.
I thought that was a little bit funny because it was like, he's like, oh wait, I get to bang you type of thing. Like, are we about to go bang? And like, no, she just has wives. I thought that I did think that was funny. I thought that was really funny.
Kind of funny. He's like, ooh, how many? And then she's like, yeah, gullet tomorrow. So they're gonna attack tomorrow, which I thought was weird because then Rhaenyra says we're gonna attack in 2 days. And then it gets pushed to 3 days with Alicent, and I'm like, okay, they're like maybe timing when some of this is going to happen.
But they also have to sail.
None of it happened, so who cares?
How far? How far do they have to sail? We have no idea.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, we're going to be there tomorrow. The gullet is like on the Westeros side. Exactly. So it's like, I don't know if it's a 1 day trip, but maybe they meant depart for the gullet tomorrow, but who knows?
Yeah. And then we get, the next one's at Rhaenyra at dinner. Ulf just proving he's an asshole. The way he's treating.
So it's Rhaenyra, Jace, Baela, and then all the dragon seeds, Ulf, Hugh, and Adam. Yeah.
So what? There's 6 of them total.
Yeah.
And the dragon seeds are all sitting at the ass end of the table.
Yep.
But Ulf just treating the servers like no class at all. It's got to be a huge red flag to what Rhaenyra was saying to Corlys. Like, I don't know these people, right? I don't know them to trust them enough to go do what I need them to do.
Yeah.
And here's Ulf just like ordering, like, give me some more little birds. I need some of that wine. Like, red flags got to be waving.
Yeah, but you like they have been starving.
Yes, I get it, but like you could be like eating and like not being a dickhead to
like
the serving people.
When they like rush the farmer onto his grace, he's like, the stranger for not killing us, he fucking for whatever he wants, and the hound just like chugs his stew. Like, yeah, you can rush it along without being I mean, he's kind of an ass, but not a super ass. Yeah. Ulf is being a huge dick. But I think it's kind of funny. Like, she's like, we're going to make you knights at one point, and then he says something dickish, and she's like, knights should compose
themselves. Might as well make it to me right now. Or like,
he's like, and then you better hurry up, make me a knight. yeah. Like, I'm not a knight yet. Like, I don't know. Some of it I thought was kind of funny.
Rhaenyra should have stood up and been like, bitch, who the fuck are you? Yeah. And so they're going to fly in 2 days I think they were going to just attack.
I had to go back for this one. Old Town and Lannisport. Because
they were going to attack the towns, right? Not the armies. They were going to go burn innocent buildings. And Baela was like, what the fuck are we... Why
she said
would we
towns
do that?
and armies. She said both. But yeah, innocents were included for sure.
Yeah, and Baela was like, yo, what are we doing? Adam, not about it. And Jace was like... I don't think Hugh was about it either. Ulf was probably eating or drinking. But Jace was like, look, we got to do this shit. Like, this is war, right? So Jace is kind of trying to step up, do what Baela said. Like, yo, be at your mom's side. And then they're like, yo, what about Vhagar? And she's like, well, he can't attack all of us at once. And then Ulf's dumbass, who could barely ride Silverwing last episode, was like, oh, me and Silverwing will take him on.
Yeah, I'll 1v1 him. Yeah, exactly.
And then Adam, I liked Adam. Adam's growing on me. Adam just calls him out like, there's going to be plenty of time to see how brave you are, bro.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. We'll see.
Give it a second.
We'll see it on the field.
And then we get a message from Harrenhal.
Yep, Simon Strong. He's like, Damon looks like he's going solo. You might want to get over here. Again, I understand it, but shouldn't Simon have sent this episode 2? The minute Damon arrived and was insisting on being called king? Like, why is all of a sudden It's just
again,
weird.
it was just,
it doesn't make sense.
It was still king consort, but just dropped the consort because it was too hard to say. Or
Damon was very obvious about this pretty early on at Harrenhal. I'm like,
I get it. I do get it. But the treachery should have been like, yo, because he heard the conversation, right? He should have been like, yo, your Sir Alfred dude was talking about backing Damon too.
Yeah, I don't know if he said that, but that's the bigger point.
I don't think Simon said that. That's the bigger treachery, I would say. Than like she kind of knew Damon was off doing Damon type things. Like she sent Sir Alfred to be her word, and he's being a backstabber.
Yeah, Alfred needs to be shorter ahead. All right, she's like, all right, Adam, come with me, which didn't really amount to anything, but like the fact that Adam
he just kind of flew around. Definitely that hurt Jace.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, why not Jace? Did it show Jace when I was writing that? Like, why did she not pick Jace?
Jace watched them leave, for sure. Not happily.
Okay.
Yeah, so then we get Damon in bed again. Alice is there. Follow me to the Godswoods. Did you see an antler-headed ghost?
Yeah, there's a green man there. Yeah, for sure.
Is that Rob? Is that Rob Baratheon?
It's a green man. The green man at the Isle of Faces. They're green people that are said to have antlers, and sometimes they're right on elks. Like, gotcha. Bran thinks that Cold Hands might be a green man except he doesn't have antlers and he's not green, but he does ride on an elk. But like, that's definitely what this is.
I thought that
These
was
are the
Rob
people that are supposed to
Baratheon
live
vision.
on. No, those are the people that are supposed to live on the Isle of Phases.
Gotcha.
So that was cool. But yeah, it was definitely like a flash, and then you blink and he's gone, and then Damon actually.
I kind of wanted to go back to see if it was an actual person or if it was kind of like a weird type of like Children of the Forest thing, which it sounds like it was.
I don't want to go too long on this one, but that is a scene I kind of just want to go back and real quick just to make sure I'm not missing it. Like, there was a lot flashing up.
I just thought maybe it was Rob Baratheon, kind of like showing. Maybe at some point it doesn't matter because you guys aren't going to be kings anymore.
There's definitely the antler man that was sick. He like clops like a thing too.
Yeah, I need to definitely. I'll rewatch tomorrow the whole episode.
So we got Bloodraven.
Oh yeah. So wait, let's go into what Alice was saying. So Alice was like, "You're ready to learn what is given to you."
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was wondering if I got that right.
It's your time to command your fate.
Yeah, to command your own fate.
Touches the dragon. How about nobody in the Discord like popping off that the tree looks like George?
Did you mention that? Did somebody mention that?
I put it in the House of the Dragon chat.
I saw the tweet, but I didn't say anything about it. Yeah, it's cool. Really cool.
Oh, now okay, really cool.
I mean, what do you want me to say about it? It's cool.
For everyone that doesn't know, the tree in Harrenhal was sculpted to look like George R.R. Martin. I'm not claiming to have known that. I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, I think it was in. They have that behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't watch that. Spoilers. There's got to be spoilers in that.
I watched the first few. I haven't watched like the last few, but apparently in the last episode one they mentioned that they sculpted the face of the weirwood tree at Harrenhal into George's face. Cool. On the flip side, I will say that I saw something somewhere that said like I think the Godswood in Harrenhal. Like, there's one weirwood tree. It's supposed to be like a real forest, like most of the Godswood. Yeah. I think it's like 40 acres.
Yeah, right.
The Godswood in Harrenhal, and here it's like literally like
it's one tree,
a backyard.
Yeah, it's a dilapidated backyard falling apart. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the vision. So I basically just like was trying to take it all in, and my first note was he sees everything past and future. So he does see Bloodraven. Is that not to happen yet? Bloodraven's later, right?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this before this episode, actually. Think about this. Bran, if you're listening, I hope you've at least seen the show. We might be talking about books, a little bit of book stuff, but this is mainly from the show at this point. Bran goes back and fucks with Hodor, turning Hodor into Hodor before Bran was born. Bran wasn't born when that happened to Hodor.
Right.
But Bran can affect the past via the weirwood tree. So you're 100% right. Bloodraven won't be born for another like 50 years. But that doesn't mean that once he gets into the weirwood net, he can't start fucking with stuff in Damon's time period. So this time period.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So do you think this is a straight message from Bloodraven right now?
I don't know. It's weird because they have Bloodraven, but then they have the three-eyed crow flying out of Bloodraven. And you know, in the books, I think the leading theory is that the three-eyed crow is actually Bran. Like Bran, like anytime Bran has a vision of the three-eyed crow, he ends up thinking it's the Bloodraven, but it's actually a future version of himself sending himself. So do you think
dreams. this is Bran fucking with everything?
I think it's Bloodraven and Bran. I think he's just seeing all kinds of stuff. Again, I haven't thought about it too much. Right. I haven't gone through it scene by scene, but
yeah. So then the next thing was there a dead dragon? Was that Caraxes dead?
Next thing I see is White Walkers.
Well, yeah, everything that I knew, I just kind of skipped over. I saw the White Walkers.
Then a dead dragon and somebody walking through like a bunch of bodies falling into water. It's Damon.
Can you ID the dragon?
I maybe could, but I'm not going to do that for you.
You don't want to?
Yeah, in case I'll do it by myself later, but I'm not going to do it and tell you anything just in case it's spoiler.
I mean, I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to probably pause.
I didn't think at first it looked like Craxus because it didn't look like it had a super long neck, but
I just thought it looked red. But whatever. I don't have to. You don't have to spoil. I'll see if I can.
I don't think it's Craxus just because it doesn't have the neck of Craxus. But I'm looking at it. It looks like Vermithor, but it doesn't look big enough to be Vermithor. I mean, if you go back and see it like for yourself, you'll be able to look.
Maybe it's Melee's dead dragon. Either way, there's a dead dragon, right?
Yeah, I mean, by the time of Game of Thrones, they're all dead.
Right, they're all gonna die. And then we see Dany, right? Dany and the dragons.
Well, Damon falls in water.
Oh, right.
Then a red comet. Oh, damn! I didn't notice that. Maybe a quick red comet, like for
I saw frames. The red comet. I saw the red comet for sure.
Quick red comet, 3 eggs, Dany. Then Rhaenyra on the throne, I think, right?
Yeah. So, like, I like this scene a lot. I feel like it gives me a lot of insight into the future.
We saw the future. What do you mean? You've seen all this.
Yeah, but I do know that Rhaenyra's line, that Dany comes from Rhaenyra's line of Targaryens. I don't know exactly how, right?
Okay.
So, I guess, yeah, okay, I don't know.
But Dany doesn't sit on the throne to kill the White Walkers. Like, it doesn't matter in the end. Like, doesn't it seem a little like, what are we building towards?
We could still say that season 8 fucked up of the Game of Thrones, but they're trying to kind of, I guess, right the wrongs. But
do you think there's any chance they try and remake at least the ending of Game of Thrones to try and fix this?
Because the actors are older and whatnot. Like, it'd just be weird. I think they just gotta chalk it up.
I agree. So I will say, this vision ends with Helaena saying shit to Damon.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Helaena is team. Maybe I don't give a fuck. Like, because I already know how it's gonna end. So like, whatever, just keep me out of it. But yeah, Helaena was like, what did she say?
She's like, this is just a story, and you're one part of it, and you know
your part.
What does that mean? He knows his part.
I think he saw what he needs to do.
Okay.
I think he saw, right, we go back to the first thing Alice said to him, you're going to die here, which...
But you don't know his part.
I don't know his part, but...
Okay, but he does.
So, she tells him, you're going to die here. He now goes through this whole vision thing. He's in the water. Maybe, I don't think he drowned. Maybe he does. But then Helena's like, all right, you know your part. Maybe just like accepting your fate, right? Like, okay, you saw it. This is what's going to happen. Like, now you just got to, accept it. Go do it. And I don't know why. I mean, Helena's obviously on board with it, which gets into our next conversation with Aemond, right?
So then she says, you know what you must do. And it sounds like Damon's still hearing this. And it cuts to Helaena just standing on a balcony talking to nobody. So what is going on with Helaena? Like, shouldn't you need a weirwood to talk in weirwood stuff? Or is it just like, I feel like it's like she just knows when people are looking at her, right? So she's not necessarily doing anything magical with the weirwood net, but she somehow knows that Alice Rivers or Bloodraven is like, happens to be using the weirwood net or a glass candle to go back and look at her at a certain point in time. And she like can realize that and is speaking to it. That's the only thing I can think here, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't really make sense for how she gets her other visions.
Or she's not actually talking to Damon. Maybe she is. I don't know.
She says, you know what you must do, just talking to herself. I don't know, especially based off what she then turns on to say to Aemon. It seems like really like prophecy-y. But yeah, it seems like she knows shit she shouldn't know. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, Helena's, I mean, I've said it from the first time. She said her weird-ass visions, like, Helena's weird, you gotta look for her. And she says a lot of stuff out now.
But we never see her with, imagine, like, there's a Godswood tree in King's Landing, a cool one. Like, imagine, like, if a lot of Helaena scenes were there, that would make a lot more sense. But she's never there.
Yeah. I don't know if, so there's the one thing, like, with I was kind of getting the vibe with Bloodraven being shown that Targaryens are kind of old goddish too, right? Like, it's just Like, are they the old gods?
Well, hold on. Bloodraven is really important because his mother was a Blackwood. And like I said before, Blackwood is the guy that Damon killed last chapter, but they're one of the few Riverland houses that worship the old god. Their house is called Raventree.
Okay.
Egg's wife is a Blackwood. So there's thought that, hey, Bloodraven maybe thought he was special because he's this mix of Targaryen and old god house. Gods. And then maybe Bloodraven even did something to set up Egg marrying a Blackwood because he thought that, hey, that would do some stuff, and then end up being a different old god house. But yeah, so that's some of the thoughts with Bloodraven.
I don't know how to explain Helaena being able to do old god type stuff or why, but
one thing that I thought was cool, I don't know where I saw it either, but I was recently watching the scene where Dany's in Karth, and this seems really off topic, but Dany's in Karth and she's begging that one, from the show, she's begging that guy for ships, and she's like, I think this is the only time she confirmed it. She's like, I dreamt that if I walked into the fire with my eggs, they would hatch. And I did. And then I'm alive. Like, I'm a special. My dreams come true. She straight up says that. And I feel like no one ever focuses on that. Like, we don't see Dany's dreams in the show. We see a few of them in the books. They don't seem super crazy. Some of them do. But, like, Dany basically is claiming to be on the level of Viserys or Aegon, at least on show canon, which is, I don't know. I think kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Aemon and Helaena, he's like, "Yo, I need you. You need to fly with me to Harrenhal. Like, we need to do this." And she just calls him out. Like, "Are you gonna? What if I don't? Are you gonna burn me like you did Aegon? Like, damn."
Yeah.
And she says like she saw it. So like, is she just seeing everything? Is she like that tied in that she's just like, what does she mean by that? Did she just see it on his face? Did she actually see, like, is she, like, looking, like, from a fourth dimension?
That's what I'm saying. I don't love this idea of, like, Helaena just having, like, random magic powers that aren't connected to anything. Like, we know a bunch of magic exists in this world, but a lot of it's either through the old gods, through fire magic, Melisandre style. Like, if Helaena was looking in the flames, okay, I can see it. Or even if she had a glass candle, but she doesn't. She just stares off into nothingness and then knows stuff. Like, it's kind of cool, but we've just never seen it before. So I don't know. I hope it get explained.
Or say she dreamed it, right? Like, not just saw it. Like, if she could, maybe just came to her in an actual dream, kind of like jraijin.
Dragon dreams. I mean, or like the actual Targaryens, like Daeron, Egg's brother, or like Dany, like I was just saying. Yeah, like that style. I can see that.
Like, just saying you saw it's kind of like weird, but like, calls him out, and then she says a couple things that, like, Aegon will be king again, which obviously he escapes later on, so like it's leaving that possibility that he can make a comeback. He sits a wooden throne.
He was in a cart.
Is that the wooden throne you're thinking of?
I was trying to think of it, what that could mean too, and then I saw him in the cart with Larry's, and I'm like, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that's it, but who knows? Maybe it's something else that'll happen next season.
I was just trying to think of like notable wooden thrones. But I guess it doesn't really matter. If he's gonna, whatever. Maybe he doesn't come back. Maybe he does.
What if he gets a wheelchair?
That is true.
Bran style.
First ever.
Wait, I wonder if we go back in season 8. Tyrion tells someone, or Bran has his wheelchair, and doesn't he tell Tyrion like, "Oh yeah, it's similar to the one that Maester blah 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 made for a king, blah 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 blah."
Interesting.
I wonder if Bran says, I wonder if it's one that Maester Orwell made for King Aegon or something like that.
That would be cool. Interesting for sure. I don't remember. But then the next one was Aemon would be dead. You'll be swallowed up in the God's Eye, never to be seen again.
Yep. And he's like, I could have you killed. And she's like, wouldn't matter. Wouldn't change what I just said.
So he's going to be dead in the God's Eye. Water. Damon's in the water.
Well, yeah. And Alice Rivers, didn't she tell him episode 1, like, you're going to die in this place?
You're going to die in this place.
Yeah, in the Godswood.
So, I don't know. I think with the vision, right, with Damon's vision and with Helaena back to back, it's just like, is she just laying out the fate of Damon and Aemon dying in the water?
Who's
to be seen in 2026, I guess. So
yeah, it's also one of the things where I feel like some of the reason, and maybe this is a little cynical of me, you know, I get some cynical sometimes. I feel like some of the reason they push some of this stuff to the next season is some of the actors who are maybe fan favorites aren't going to be long for this world. So like,
yeah.
hey, if we have this battle or if we have this event in this season, then blank is out of all the promotional material for season 3, right? So maybe that's why they push all this so they can have everybody in the promotional material, even if they're only going to be. And I'm wondering if that's going to continue to happen, where maybe like we're kind of going to have anticlimactic endings, because unlike Game of Thrones, like pretty much everyone is going to die. Right? Like it's a
for sure.
book.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like at some point in this deal, people need to we need to have battles, right? People need to die, and then people need to grow up. Daron and Jace and maybe even Joffrey, and then they need to die too, right? More people need to grow up and die. But it is to the point of like I do get what you're saying about like pushing it on to like maybe even the premiere episode of season 3, like killing off like oh, you think they're gonna be here? I've watched, it's a big thing with Scream, right? Drew or who was the actress?
Drew Barrymore.
Do you not know this? Drew Barrymore, I think, was on all of the promotions. Like, oh, Drew Barrymore's gonna Scream. It's like, oh, she's gonna be like the lead actress. Boom, dead in the first scene, right?
I remember there was a Godzilla movie that had a lot of Bryan Cranston. He was like a big thing in all the trailers, and he was dead in the first like 20 minutes of it. So yeah.
Not to spoil like any other ones, but like I've watched a couple shows with like who I thought I just started one actually. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you think this like main actor is gonna be the main actor in it all, and turns out I think second episode he gets killed. It's like what the fuck, like that it just raises your eyebrow. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? People got to start dying.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra shows up with Adam at Harrenhal. Again, Harrenhal is just looking cooler and cooler.
It looks cooler and cooler every time. And they finally show it in full daylight. She does a full circle of it. Yeah, it looks pretty fucking badass. I still think it's a little bit small, but it looks cool.
It does look a little small. Maybe not as tall, like even with the beam melted down, but I do like the fact that it's still kind of broken.
I said, 40-acre Godswood, so.
Yeah.
It's still kind of broken, but it seems like Damon fixed it up way too much in like a few months. Like this castle, I think, took like 50 years to build. That might not, don't hold me to that, but it's like 30 to 50 years, somewhere in there. It's a lot of years to build. And Damon, like, 2 months and like some elbow grease. And Damon, I mean,
there's still a lot of holes and shit, though.
Cyrax lands on the roof and stuff, but I don't know. It's looking better than it did when he showed up.
For sure. All right, so Simon meets her, like, come on, you must see. See the treachery, like it's happening. Which I think gets back to your point of like, why would the Riverlords be doing treacherous shit if they were like, we're only here for Rhaenyra? I do get your point in that.
Yeah, we've talked about this one already.
So we're in the Great Hall, and Rhaenyra, Damon. I like that you could see Damon's white hair walking through the crowd.
Yeah. At first I was like, wait, what am I looking for? And then I saw like the people partying in the way. Yeah.
Do you like I always like when they get in a little High Valyrian like secret talk action.
I felt like it should have happened in private. Again,
but it just did happen in private because nobody else knows.
Yeah, but nobody knows. But she's like, will you bow? Basically, like they're talking like kind of in hushed voices, and she's like, who are you gonna bow to? And then he starts talking in High Valyrian. Like,
right.
It should be it's a clear hesitation. Like, and he's basically talking in High Valyrian to say you anyway. I think it's just a bad look for the men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, say I'm the head coach, you're the OC, and I ask you, like, hey, are you going to listen to me today on game day? And we're in front of the whole team, and me and you start talking in Spanish. And then you're like, yeah, I will. Like,
what did we just say? What did we just talk about in Spanish?
Even if you'd like, yeah, coach, I'm 100% behind you. You have a great game plan. The fact that it was in Spanish and you hid that from the team, makes it seem like it's anti-me. So even though you said, like, yeah, I'm behind you afterwards, it's like, wait, what did they just say? There's this funny part in Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's not meant to be funny, but there's this part in Lord of the Rings where it's right before battle and two characters are talking in Elvish, and one character's like, we have no chance. And it's like, we're all going to die. And they're back and forth. They're saying all this in Elvish, and then one of them in English says, "Then I will die as one of them." And there's like all these memes where it's like you just hear these guys like blibbity blobbity blibbity blobbity blibbity blobbity. Then I will die as one of them, and all the soldiers like look over like, "Oh fuck, what are we signing up for?"
We're going to
die. Exactly. It felt a little bit like, not quite, but a little bit like that, where it's like, I don't know. Like, I like the conversation. Again, I feel like we didn't need it at all because the Riverlords were on her side no matter what. But they should have had it in, also, just like logistically, it doesn't make sense to have it in front of everybody. They should have had it in private after the fact. He should have said, like, yes, I'm behind you. Then they should have gone and had like a heart to heart and been like, here's why. Guess what? I believe in all the crazy Viserys shit now. Like, I feel like they still could have made it cool. I don't know. I just felt like they were trying to build tension for no reason.
I like the scene.
I've gone hard on this one.
This was the coolest scene. I don't care. You could have, oh, there were people who should have, been on her side, whatever. Them talking about it, her saying, "You sound like my father," him like agreeing, like, "Yes, I know," and he chose you, and he gets on the knee, and then when he rallies the troops,
yeah, that was cool.
It's like, bam, I'm back on Team Damon. Damon's cool as fuck again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we were hesitant on them all. I agree. I 100% agree with that, and I see where you're coming from. I just think when you think about it logistically, it doesn't quite make sense. But I 100%. It was a
watching
hype scene
it. It was still a cool ass scene. Like,
for
fine,
sure.
Logistics, throw him out the window. Damon is the guy you want holding the sword up, pre-game speech. Let's take the field, and it was awesome. Like, the look in his eyes, yelling for Rhaenyra, and like her standing there, like, "Fuck yeah, like, let's go to work."
She's like, "Damn, I didn't think it would be this easy, but this is exactly what I needed, and like, this is great." Yeah.
And also, we've been waiting 7 episodes now to get these two back in a room together. Which I said last episode, I hope that we did get to see them in a room together. It paid off. It paid off for me.
I like how, like, after all that happened in Rhaenyra, you can just like see the relief on her face, and she goes up to Damon and she's like, "If you ever like leave me again at your own peril, like don't never again, like knock this shit off." I was going all season long, you were driving me crazy about this shit.
And
like,
even his response was great too. Like, I tried. Look, I tried to get away and I failed. I couldn't. So let's go.
Yeah.
All right. We get another lame. You actually like the scene, Corlys.
I like the scene. I think it just should have happened way earlier. Alan snaps.
Alan was cool.
And he's like, "Oh, now you want to be nice? Like, after we literally starved, now that you're out of heirs, you're like,
thought it was a great point.
Bottom of the barrel." 100% is a great point.
They don't show you this. Like, and I didn't know this. I thought maybe Corlys always kind of had him kind of nicely placed in his ship, right? Like, you don't know that they were starving and had to like literally work for whatever they had. And it wasn't till Rhaenyra and Helaena and Luke died that it's like, okay, like, yeah, come on my ship now, like I'll protect you type of thing. I just think it was giving you more insight onto that actual relationship, where to this point I kind of thought Corlys always had him on his ship working for him type of thing.
You're a Harry Potter guy. This is like when Ron isn't there when he's going, I'm thinking movies, when he's like going to the ball, doesn't he like end up asking Hermione like right after he gets rejected by 2 other people, and she's like, "What the fuck? Like, I want to be a first choice." Like, that's kind of Alan's take here. It's like, you literally shit on me all your life, and now that it's like inconvenient for you to not have any relations, now you want to be nice to me. Because Corley starts a conversation with like, "Hey, I know I made you like my first hand, and you're doing everything great. Like, you're doing your job great, but like, could you be nicer about it? Like, could you like be warmer about it?" He's like, "Yo, fuck you, bro. You made my life horrible. Like, go sit on a bowling pin and rotate." I was wondering if I was, fuck it.
Gosh. All right. So then we get Rhaena chasing the dragon again.
Is this where we finally see the dragon, or not even yet? She's just chasing it. I don't think we see it till the montage at the end.
I didn't write down when she was freezing by the rock, but maybe this was where she was freezing kind of.
No, I think this is after this. I think she sees it in the sky and she's like running across the field here.
Okay.
But yeah. Then it cuts to Rhaenyra has teleported back to Dragonstone. Again, she has a dragon, so it should be quick.
She didn't teleport. She flew.
But like, again, like there was we had this conflict of like, oh, me and Damon don't see eye to eye and I can't talk to him because he's at Harrenhal. But like in this episode, she just like bang, bang. And literally like she had dinner, right? And said like, "Hey, in 2 days." So this is less than a 2-day trip there and back. Like, we couldn't have done this at any other point in I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, but whatever. So just some of the logistics don't make any fucking sense in this season.
We don't know. We don't know when this could have been dawn the next day, or we don't know when they were actually talking.
She sent Lord Broom in episode 4, episode 5.
Yeah, but
she could have just bunged in half a scene.
I get it, but she didn't want to. That was the other point. She didn't want to make it look like she had to go run to Damon.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. I get it.
It was an appearance thing. All right, so I didn't really understand this conversation between Rhaenyra and the White Worm. Like, all right, now we got to go kill people.
That's what I'm saying. 2 steps back. Yeah. We're just planting the seeds of Rhaenyra doesn't really want to fight people. Again, she was saying this to Corlys earlier. Corlys is like, now it's time to attack. Rhaenyra's like, no, we can use this to just like force their hand now that we have too many. And Corlys is like, he already burned Sharp Point. Like, what are we talking about? Like, clearly that's not going to stop him. So I don't know. I don't know how Rhaenyra still has this weird.
She needs to hear it again. And then now we get her in bed and we get the whole conversation with Alicent where it's basically like, Now she's like to Alicent, no, I have to go kill I have to kill you now. I have to kill Aegon. I have to chop off his head. And she just was like not wanting to do that. So like I completely get your point of her flip-flopping on the idea of going to war or not.
I don't know why. Like, what was the point of this? What did this scene accomplish? Like at the end of it, Alicent says, "Hey, I'm gonna open the doors for you." Pretty much.
I'm gonna open the doors for you, and you can take it over, and we're gonna give you Aegon. It sounds like.
Yeah. So, and what does Alicent get out of this? She gets to run away.
She gets to go back to Old Town and live the rest of her life with Helaena and Helena's child.
Did she say children when she was talking about Helaena? Helaena should only have one.
I think she just said child.
Okay, she because Helaena should only have one child at this point, unless that other baby magically appeared somewhere.
No, I think you're a child.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't understand the whole point of this thing. It seems like she could have run.
I don't really get it either. Yeah, and take Helaena too.
I think the Alicent actors kind of killed it, and Emma Darcy was really good. Like they were both doing like the eyes full of tears thing, and I think when Rhaenyra kind of hits her with the "Are you willing to give up Aegon and like let him die?" I thought that was a really tense moment. But again, like I just don't think that the like just cut it. It doesn't make you don't need the scene at all. Like I don't know why we're having.
Yeah, no, I think they acted very well. I just think we're going like kind of you said. Like why at this point do we need to have this conversation?
Yeah, and
like we're going to war. Like people are marching. Like everything is in stone. Like I'll give my prediction. I don't think for a second Rhaenyra is going to King's Landing to like think. I don't know. Maybe she like if Rhaenyra goes to King's Landing by herself, just like thinking she's walking through the door. I think that she's a fool. She ain't walking out of that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the montage at the end, we see all the dragon seeds suiting up. So I don't think she plans to go solo. And that's what she had told him at dinner. It's like, hey, in a couple of days we're going to King's Landing, right? So
yeah,
I don't think she plans to go solo. But yeah, again, I just don't see the point. Like Alicent, if you wanted to open the doors when Rhaenyra shows up, just like keep a weather eye on the horizon and open the doors when Rhaenyra shows up. You don't have to tell her ahead of time. Just wave that right flag. Unless again, it seems like maybe partially what they're going for is like I'm telling you when Aemon's not going to be there because we want you to come after he leaves, which I can kind of see that.
Not have to fight Vhagar in front of all of King's Landing.
And even there was even a part where when she's like Aegon, like will you kill Aegon, and then Rhaenyra's like what will you do? What will you choose? And I'm like, what's the ultimatum here? Like, can I kill your son or not? Or like, will you open it?
I didn't understand that was a weird. And then Alicent just kind of like nods her head, like she doesn't actually answer it. It's just like a head nod.
Rhaenyra like even has to restate the question, like restate it, because I'm like, wait, what do you even mean by that? And she's like, so will you hold up to your word or not? And I'm like, that's your ultimatum? Is like, will you hold up to your word as in opening the gates, but also let me kill your son or not, and then let the city burn? Like,
she never said I'll ultimatum. Give you Aegon. Like, right.
I don't know. I just feel like they try to force so much drama into some of these scenes, and I'm like, I don't hate this. I mean, this scene I hated, but like the Damon one, like I didn't hate the scene. It just seems like you're trying to force way too much drama into some of the stuff, and I get it. It's probably because some of these battles got cut and moved to the next season or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah,
that's kind of the last real scene, right?
It's the last real scene. There's a couple other things. She talks about Emma, right? And like Viserys always actually loved Emma.
Yeah.
And I just thought this was like a really stupid looking moment for Alicent, and Rhaenyra calls her out on it. Like you say he loved my mom that much, and like he did everything, naming me his heir because of her and whatnot. And then Rhaenyra's like, so he loved her that much and believed in it that much that he changed his mind on his deathbed. You dumb bitch! Like, like what are you talking about?
She also confesses a little bit about Kristen Cole in there somewhere, right? But without actually saying Kristen Cole. She's like, I started fucking somebody.
I didn't catch that. I must have been writing a note. What did she say? Like, I trusted my husband. I trusted my lover. Did she say my lover?
Exactly. Oh, okay. And Rhaenyra's like, oh, the righteous woman got a lover. And she's like, yeah, after your father died, I'll admit, like, I was in a bad spot. And, like,
I got your sloppy
saw solace in somewhere. And she's like, but it was nothing you've never done before. And Rhaenyra was like, yeah, but I never tried to hide behind the veil of righteousness or something like that, right? Where I never pretended that I wasn't doing bad shit. Right, you were always like, oh, I'm the good girl, but meanwhile you're doing bad shit.
I don't know. And I didn't think it was cool too of Alicent being like, Alicent owning up to like I was on the path. People put me on the path. I thought if I did everything the right way, that it would just work out, right? And I've done that kind of. Maybe I veered off in the last season, right, when I started banging Kristen Cole. But you've just been doing your own thing the whole time, and we're in the same spot, right? Like we're no better for another. Yeah. So I guess the ultimatum, Nelson, is that Rhaenyra is like, all right, I want a son for a son.
I mean, she already got that though.
No, Aegon's still living. Nobody's dead. Alicent's kids are all alive.
Rhaenyra's the queen. Aegon's the king. So Aegon's kids are a son.
I gotcha.
Rhaenyra's kids are equal to Aegon's kids. They killed one of Aegon's kids, so she got a son for a son. Yeah. I get why they're saying it, because it doesn't seem like what they're going for here. Because when they even the episode of Son for Son is all about killing Aemond, so I understand they're going for a son for son Rhaenyra to Alicent, but in the books it's not quite how it goes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think the last part about that is, hey, history will remember you as the villain. And Alicent's like, I don't care. I just want to go live out my life, which I think is interesting because it's another one of I feel like the themes that pops up a lot, especially in the books, where like Tyrion is like, when he's on trial, he's like, oh, God damn it, I did everything to save the city, and really this is how I'm going to be remembered. Jon, right, when he's going to try and kill Mance after they've pretty much lost the battle, he's like, damn, Robb was the king, and I'm going to be the turncloak. Exactly. Like, so all that, people think about this a lot. So, and Alicent's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I just want to go live in the woods, which is like,
I want to die where no one's going to remember me, type of thing.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, then we get this montage at the end.
Which, the montage was cool if this was last episode. If this was episode 7, right? Are you with me?
100%, yeah. Like, or if this was a 10-episode season, then this is a super sick montage. I mean, I still think it's a little bit of a cock tease, like, especially because I feel like some of the endings have been bad, leaving you wanting more. Like the one where Rhaenyra kissed Mysaria, and then someone comes in like, oh, someone claims sea smoke, and then Rhaenyra's like, I'm gonna handle this myself, and then she flies off. It's like, okay, that felt like a little bit like I wanted to see Rhaenyra actually do something, and I didn't think about this, but in hindsight, you don't see her like. It would have been cool to see her like pull up and be like, "Hey, pull over," you know what I mean? Like, as ridiculous as it sounds, like we just see them on a beach. Like, it would have been cool to see her like
see them
like,
both
show
fly.
Air dominance, or something, right? Exactly. So, without being like,
I'll agree. I think a lot of the episodes, the endings, I've been like, is this really how we're fucking ending this episode? Most of them, I've been like that.
Yeah, exactly. So this one I wasn't a huge fan of. And like when the montage started, I waved my mouse and I'm like, okay, there's still like 14 minutes left. Like there's going to be like one of these things is going to get paid off. And then it just cut to credits and I'm like, damn, really 14 minutes of
that's 12
Ryan
minutes
Condal
of
talking
behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, God damn, we didn't get any of this paid off. So
yeah, you can't get fooled with that. All right, so I'm just going to list them all and we can kind of stop me if you want to talk about anything.
Yep.
Dragon Riders are getting geared up. I thought that was cool just to see them all like in armor. But we haven't seen them train at all.
They were kind of talking about it. Like Hugh was saying like, hey, Ulf, we shouldn't be up here. We should be downstairs. We're supposed to be learning Valyrian words right now. So they kind of alluded to that they have been.
And there was 2 dragons flying around when Rhaenyra and the White Worm were talking. So like fine. That was probably they're flying a little bit. Cool. All right. The High Towers and Daron. Dope. I thought that was cool. Daron's dragons blue as shit.
A lot of this is weird because it's intercut. Something that it cuts back to a lot is Alicent walking out of Dragonstone.
I skipped over Alicent walking.
It's just weird. Like it cuts back to that like a couple times. A lot of this only gets one cut, and that gets like 3 or 4. So
for sure.
But yeah. So yeah, High Tower Army.
Daron flying in a blue dragon was cool.
Blue Queen. Yeah, cool ass dragon.
Starks are marching across the Twins.
Bunch of I don't know if you noticed, they're all old men because I told you this.
I
earlier,
remember
like,
all 1,000 graybeards or whatever they called them.
Yeah, so they're all old. Yep.
The Lannisters are marching from the west. I couldn't tell. It looked like they were at the fork, right? They were at the fork of the river.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was River Run, but I didn't see a castle at the fork, so I'm thinking it's probably past River Run, maybe near Harrenhal.
It looked like there was a castle way in the back.
Yeah, but it wasn't at the fork. River Run's at the fork, and there's like a moat on the third side.
Yeah, no, nothing at the fork. Damon just standing in front of the army.
Damon at Harrenhal, yeah.
And then you have the Lannisters are sailing now.
Yep, Tylan is with that lady,
Lohar?
Lohar is her last name. I'm not even trying to say the first name. It's like Shakar. Chakarar Lohar.
Yeah. Then you get Alan and Corlys on a little
rowboat going out to their boat.
Rowboat going out to the one boat. I wanted to see the one thing I did want to see, because you see the Lannister on this huge armada, they call it. I wanted to see like how deep is the sea snake actually rolling? Like, what's this navy like?
I don't know if we get numbers on his, but in the books, Lannister with this Triarchy army has 90
ships.
90 ships. The Triarchy actually I don't think the Lannister's actually there. This is something that like during the early season they didn't do it, but Otto was just like doing nothing, sending a bunch of letters trying to get things set up, and Aegon kind of fired him for doing nothing. And this is one of the things that Otto was like actually getting done that just like took a little time to manifest. Gotcha. So they just had Tylan do it on. I think Aemond actually told him to do it when he took in charge. But yeah, Otto was more behind this in the books. Not that it really matters, but yeah.
So then you get Rhaena coming up on Sheep Killer.
Sheep Stealer.
Or Sheep Stealer. You spoiled that name for me. I didn't know that.
I guess they still haven't said what the name is.
I thought it was. I would have guessed it would have been. But I think Cannibal I knew was bigger. So I don't
think we're going to see Cannibal. I mean, it's a cool dragon in the mentions of it, but he doesn't really do anything ever. No one ever claims him.
Just because he doesn't get claimed.
So what do you think of the looks of Sheep Stealer?
Cool. Black and white, kind of like cow spotted, right?
Like, just like, they say it's like brown and it's like one of the ugliest. It's known as like one of the ugliest.
Well, it looked like it was like kind of skinny and like maybe scratchy, and like the wings.
It's a wild dragon. It's been out there doing its thing. It's kind of like a wolf to a dog.
I thought it looked a little like black and white spotted, almost like a cow pattern.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, I like it.
I thought it was cool for sure. It looked badass. And I'm cool with Rhaena. Go ahead, Rhaena. Go get yourself a dragon. We'll see what they do with it.
I know people aren't gonna believe this, and I don't even know if I believe it at this moment. But given in 2 years, I'll be open minded about it. I really hate it right now that we lost Nettles, but in 2 years, I'll be open minded when we get the next season.
How about the shock of the episode? Otto behind bars.
And I didn't know if it was supposed to be on a ship, but he wasn't rocking at all, so maybe not. He just captured somewhere in a jail, but we don't really know where. But on land, I guess.
I have no idea. I was expecting Otto 3 episodes ago to show back up to King's Landing as Hand of the King for Aemond.
This is
which gets me to think that Aemond might be the one that has him locked up, because he doesn't actually want him to be there to be his hand. He wants to be ruling on his own. So hey, give me Otto, lock his ass up too.
As long until he's here, there's no hand. I'm in charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting thought. I will say, if that's not true, Otto's. I don't want to say anything.
You don't know why. You don't know why he would be captive.
No. I thought. Yeah, I don't know why Otto would be captive from what I know in the books. I think what you're saying maybe makes a little bit of sense from what I know in the books, but like if anyone's gonna have him captive, Aemond having him captive maybe makes the most sense from what happens to Otto in the books. But I'll leave it there.
I don't know who else would have any motive to just like not kill him.
Any black supporter. Well, I mean, yeah, but you would tell Rhaenyra right away.
Right, that would be known, right? We have Otto, and
yeah,
and I don't know, like in no way would they have like intercepted him in like his path from Old Town to King's Landing, right?
Yeah,
and then we finished out with Aegon and Larys bailing in the wagon. Yep. Cool. I'm cool with them being out. Let's go. Let's add another spoke to this wheel. Maybe I'm back on Aegon being alive. Like, let's just make this thing even weirder.
I mean, you're always the one saying timeline doesn't matter. I feel like them not explaining timeline in this season makes things really suspicious. Like, how did Aegon get better so fast? There's a lot of things where timeline just doesn't make sense in this one. So, and people got really upset about that in season, like towards the end of the Game of Thrones. You think they'd be more careful about it, or at least they try and explain it a little bit, but
it doesn't make any sense that he's okay, because it feels like this season actually has happened in like a month of time, right? From beginning to end, we're here like in a month.
I think it should be about a year, probably 9 months.
We definitely don't feel that year.
Yeah.
And shouldn't he like be in Rook's Rest still? Like if he was like needed to do the surgery, did they actually get him back to King's Landing at any point?
They don't super explain it, but like when Rob's injured taking the crag, he gets healed at the crag by the maester at the crag, and then he comes back to River Run when he's healthy. Like that's what would have happened to Aegon. Obviously, they wanted to have that whole scene where they brought the dragon head in, and one of the things I've seen people complain about is even in that scene, the dragon head is smoking when like Rook's Rest is like 2.5, 3 weeks away. Like, okay, dragons are magical, but really, like Aegon is still alive after 2.5 weeks. We didn't just like immediately treat him. Like there's a lot of timeline problems, but who cares? I guess.
Yeah, timeline doesn't matter.
Some people have to behold to the timeline, like the Starks, who have been marching the entire season and just got to the twins. They have to behold to time travel problems, but not Kristen Cole. He doesn't have
the opening scene of the show was the Starks on the wall.
Yes, the first season is like, hey, we're heading down now, and here we are, literally the last montage of episode 8, and they're just getting to the twins. Which, I mean, you know the map. Twins is literally halfway. Like we still got. So maybe by the end of season 3. Starks will be in the action. You know what I
mean? They'll be somewhere.
Meanwhile, Kristen Cole is going to teleport to the wall and back in that time.
He's been to Harrenhal 4 times.
Yeah, he's got the time travel machine.
And then throughout that, you just get Alicent walking out, and then you get Rhaenyra looking out over the water, and then both of them. I just a very unsatisfying final scene of them just looking out.
I mean, I don't know if I was the only one, but like, I normally try not to do this when I'm watching a show. I like to be like surprised, but like when this montage was happening, I was like, there better be something afterwards, and I was just like looking, and I saw that there was credits, and I was just like, I was just disappointed even before the montage was over because I saw that there was nothing after, and I'm like, really, this is where we're ending. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I even said
maybe other people aren't going to agree. Again, there was some of the episode I really liked. I feel like I've been really negative on it. We didn't give our scores yet. Let me give mine first. I don't want you to taint me, or at least let me think of mine before.
Well, I've been like spot on with
You've been pretty close to matching, I think, like IMDb and stuff. All right, I'm gonna give this one a 7.4, which I feel I feel like people are gonna be surprised by that because I feel like I've been really harsh on it, and I feel like there are a lot of plot problems. But like when I was watching it, like I said, there was a lot of highs and there was a lot of lows. There was a lot of times when I was like, oh yeah, yes, and then there was sometimes I'm just like, what? Like the Rhaenyra Alicent scene, like what are we doing right now? Like why are we here? But I think it was way more good than bad, so I'm gonna say that.
Agreed, and I was actually right around 7.2. 7.2 was my number.
Okay.
It just wasn't a finale. Like, this isn't a good finale.
Yeah, and I feel like my number would drop on, like, rewatches again, like, when I think about, like, the implication. Because, again, like, one of the things I've criticized is, like, I don't like how they've introduced this prophecy. Like, how's it going to matter? And they keep kind of making it matter. They've made it matter a few times where Rhaenyra told Jace. They made it matter now where
with
Damon learning about it. But, again, it feels like we're still trying to build to some bigger payoff with this prophecy. And again, maybe if they never touch it again and like the big build off was Damon having it, we needing that to turn Damon to Rhaenyra's side. Okay, cool. But again, it's one of the things where I'm like, I don't know, we're flirting. I feel like I understand why they're doing it. There's a lot of show only fans, and if we can tie this into Game of Thrones, it's cool. But also, kind of like we said, like during the pod, you got to remember, like it didn't really pay off in the end. This prophecy in particular did not pay off in the end. So I feel like you kind of want to limit how much you tie yourself to the original show.
I do think, to your point, of like who else really needs to know, like right, like is she gonna take it to this Aegon and be like, look, we need to be together? Like I don't think it's gonna bring the greens and the blacks together, this prophecy. So
like I'm not gonna spoil how it ends, but say the story ends with like Rhaenyra passing this off to Jace. Right? Like say the story ends with the blacks have won the war, Rhaenyra's on her deathbed, and she's like, Jace, you must make sure this survives, and that's like the end black scene of the entire season. Like that would be really bad. I feel like fans would not like that because we never hear about this in the normal show. And like, okay, how are you going to tie the end of this show to the beginning of Game of Thrones, where the main thread is supposed to be this prophecy when we never hear about it? Like, okay, the prophecy comes to fruition, kind of, even not really, because there is no Targaryen on the throne, but like, you know what I mean? Like, book fans are fun. Think it's fun to speculate where did it get lost along the line, and even in the books, kind of like we talked about in recent chapters, Aemon knows about the prophecy. Rhaegar seemed to know about the prophecy. So we might learn in the books that Rhaegar learned about it through the dagger. I don't really think so. I think the dagger is a book thing. But like, maybe
I think it's written in a book by that point. Maybe
Rhaegar learned about it from Aerys, the Mad King. Maybe. Again, people don't think about this, but maybe it got passed down the whole way. Right? So
until Dany, right? Until Dany. Dany doesn't know about it.
Yeah. But it's one of the things where in the show it's done and dusted. So it's like, why are we... I don't know how long we should linger on it. But yeah. I don't know how long we should linger on this podcast. We're going way too long. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I've said my piece.
Yeah.
I think it was a good episode. I just don't think it was the proper way to wrap up this season. I really don't think since Rook's Rest, they got you so pumped for Rook's Rest and like wait till you see more, and then they just didn't feed us anything more other than like the seed sowing, which was cool. Again, there's a lot of cool scenes There was a lot of cool scenes, like you said, I liked in this, but it just wasn't. It didn't feed my hunger enough. I'll say that.
Yeah, exactly. Felt a little let down by the end of it, but again, definitely better than most TV out there. So we'll leave it at that one. We'll see the rest of you. We'll see you guys in the normal A Song of Ice and Fire book podcast. We're finishing up Storm of Swords right now. Epilogue podcast we're recording tomorrow. Go check it out if you haven't. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.